been raised earlier, but I don't think I have joined for the first time on this community call. But uh, like, if we have got some configurations regarding, as I come to know that once an application is deployed, then it re-renders the deployment on 5 minutes, right? But I think like there would have been some possibilities so that we can re-render on all our dedicated time, right? I might want it like on under 1 minute if I'm testing on somewhat my model, right?
I'm not sure we got all of it, but my understanding, and I'll repeat what I understood, and please go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is you have an application, and then when you make a change, it should re-render the components, the underlying Kubernetes resources, and that is taking more than a minute. Is that correct? Mawsam, do you mind repeating?
If I have a couple of changes on my deployment file itself, then the application re-renders my deployment manifest file after
Correct.
5 minutes, right?
After 5 minutes? No, I don't believe it's 5 minutes. I have to confirm that again. Does anybody else know the current reconciliation time?
It should be almost immediate. There
And
is no a hard delay in the informer uh, that the that Kubernetes will send to the reconciler. So there is no hard delay that is put in, or there is no timer. It should almost, at least that's how I understand it.
yeah, I believe so too, that the KubeVela controller will reconcile the new application changes, re-render the underlying Kubernetes resources, which should then uh, go through the regular Kubernetes
Okay.
reconciliation loop.
And the since background disturbances making my sound full, say like if I change the manifest for deployment file, then the application reconciler will come after 5 minutes, right? It reconciles after 5 minutes.
No, it should reconcile as soon as possible.
Okay. Uh, okay. I thought like as I was checking a couple of the deployments on my application, I came to find out. Okay, I'll double check that and reconnect with any one of you. But I came to find that the application was the deployment manifest was reconciled after only 5 minutes, or pretty somewhat at that time.
Okay, I can do one thing. I can check that again and confirm, Mawsam. If you are on the CNCF Cloud Native Foundation Slack channel, please feel free to hit me up on Slack so that we can take this forward, or you can ask in the KubeVela channel so that you get more eyes on that question.
Okay, sure. Pardon for my background noise. Sorry. Sure.
Thank you. And I realized that I had not hit the record button early enough. So just restating the question that Lena asked was about stateful sets not being available as a component. And the action item there was Lena is probably going to check it out for guidewire specific use cases and then probably contribute back a component if that feels right into the community as well. And Lena, would you raise the GitHub issue just so that everybody's aware?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else anybody's been doing that's interesting that you'd like to share?
One thing that I was going to bring up, actually, is kind of semi two things. The first thing that we've noticed as we've been building out different components is the phase of the application. We've not really been able to find any way to interact with that directly, and there's certain cases where we feel like it could be useful to be able to interact with the application phase through your components, such as like if you have some resource. The situation we're dealing with right now is we're having a DynamoDB. There's a situation where a DynamoDB resource may not get created, and to be able to, the application just remains in running workflow. So if we could update that phase through component, then that could be a useful thing. We haven't seen the feature like that. We've been looking through some documentation and haven't seen that. So if it's not currently a feature, it'd be something maybe we could consider. I don't know y'all's thoughts on that before I bring up the second point.
Wouldn't status rewrites help if it's a custom component? Isn't there a way to rewrite the status and add more information there? Couldn't that be used?
That's true. That's the kind of the solution we're going about is we are changing the status message. However, for the all intents and purposes, I guess the workflow, one of the steps has failed, right? Because like in this case, the DynamoDB table is not getting created, so that phase is not changing. So that's why I feel like it could be useful to also to truly kind of reflect the status of where the workflow is at, be able to interact with that.
Interesting. Yeah, on the top of my head, I can't think of anything. But feel free to again raise it in the Slack channel and create a GitHub issue. I'm
Okay.
sure this is common for everyone would want to do this, so not just specific to Guidewire. So I think there'll be value for doing this for in concert with the community.
Awesome. All right.
I think that comes back again to something that we've discussed in a previous community meeting, that we really just don't have enough status reporting capabilities right now for component definitions. So currently there's just the is healthy Boolean
Yeah.
and the status message, but there's not any way to differentiate there if something's just still in the process of being provisioned or if it has truly failed.
Okay, got it. Yes, I know, Lena, you brought that up in the last community meeting. I think
I have something to add around that, I think.
yeah, go ahead, Ron.
So basically, just agreeing with Michael and Lena that, the state machine, I think for most processes is pretty simple in terms of how it's implemented in KubeVela. But if I'm understanding you correctly, Lena, we are talking about the input validation thing, right? In terms of how the board status, or it's just the endpoint, the output one that you're talking about.
I think
We're just talking about the output. So in theory,
okay.
tie this back to the input validation things as well, because if you have an invalid input, then the component should be marked as failed, not just still
workflow
trying.
failed.
You know?
Yeah, because as far as workflows are concerned, it's basically, I think, 2 or 3 statuses that it can switch between, and it doesn't. Yeah, we all know the problem. But no, interesting. Like, not, I don't know if interesting, but small update around that is that I've been working with Kanchan on trying to understand that issue, and we have tried some changes where we are stuck. And so we have been doing this over the past week. Where we are stuck right now is Q library is actually a big pain to work with. They don't really have public facing APIs that you can use. So what you have to understand is just import their modules directly and work through them. So what KubeVela does right now is they have built their own sort of abstraction over the Q library to make it easy to deal with. So the current technical problem we are facing is that what we do in our component definition templates is also we use the application context to maybe change the name or namespace. I think those two are the only fields. And Q cannot compile correctly. So there's a Q.compile function, which basically, so the problem is that we need to find out what are the required fields to validate the input. So we're talking about the input validation issue. Sorry about that. And for that, for us to find out what are the required fields, we need to compile the Q template. And we can't really compile the Q template unless we have the application context in it as well. But there is no easy way to do that correct right now. And there is, as far as we have seen, and we have spent quite a few hours understanding the Q library to see if there is a way we can just ignore some validations, or there is an easy way to abstract, maybe even just basic string parsing or anything, just to let us know what are the required fields in a Q file. And we have been unsuccessful so far. What we have settled on eventually is that we'll have to somehow basically cut out that particular line if you're using the application context in the component definition, compile it, and then extract it out, and then check against the fields that have been supplied in the application. But it's so if anybody has experience working with the Q library, again, it's not really a library, it's just you directly import the internal modules. But if anybody has experience dealing with Q specific fields, we would be glad for the help, because we have been struggling with that for the past week. But we have identified how to fix it, where to fix it, and I think we understand the overall structure, how it needs to be done. But there's no easy way to do it right.
So
I hope that was all clear.
Kanchan and Rahul, have you guys asked this in the KubeVela channel?
Not yet. So we have been
Let's
struggling
start
with
there.
it for the past week. Yeah, let's start there. But yeah, we will start. Definitely. But no, like if in this call anyone has experience with working with Q, and that's the reason I suspect that KubeVela folks also added an abstraction in the KubeVela code, because Q is again a pain to work with. By the way, Lena, I think you'd be glad to know that just updating the Q version from 0.5 to 0.6, where the input validation was added in Q, actually makes the error a little better, not great, but not as bad as it was earlier.
Well, that's great news.
Yeah, like it's a little better. It at least tells you that what the name is, like what the field is missing is vaguely, but better.
Improvement is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fog might know most about Q. So maybe tagging her with a question might be an easier bit to get an answer on the KubeVela channel.
Yeah. And again, the abstraction that we have, that I think IB also noticed that Fong has written a lot of the code abstraction for Q. But yeah, it's a lot of weird string parsing that we have to do. And that is still how it is done right now in KubeVela.
Okay, cool. So action item is send a message in Slack, probably tag Fog and Jenbo and Daniel, and they might know more about this than I do. Cool.
All right. Yeah.
Any other updates? Any other interesting tidbits anybody wants to share?
Yeah, just a little thing. So the other day we had a tech talk in Guidewire Bangalore office, where a lot of folks from other companies participated. So we ran into one of the person in Bangalore. They were using KubeVela in their company. They had written few components and they were using it in production. So that was interesting to know. So I have taken the contact details. Maybe I'll try to add that person to the community.
That'd be great. I think we need to continue to grow this community and get as much feedback and also contributions back into the product to make KubeVela the default standard for abstractions on Kubernetes for infrastructure or anything else. Cool. If anybody else have anything to add? All right. Thank you, folks, for your time and for your effort in the KubeVela community channel. Mawsum, I look forward to seeing your message in the KubeVela channel, and then we can take it from there. Others, please, as a Guidewire team, you guys are doing good with the work you're doing. Find ways to contribute back into the community as much as possible, and be great to see all of your contributions. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.